the school districts are kind of imploding and becoming these big bloated entities, which is shocking that you have to have court permission to age gate, which is in my mind is insane. But that's when you guys do legislation, in the back of your mind is, can this go through court and survive?
People said back in, I think it was 2018 when Prop 4 passed, they said it was the will of the people, you cannot change that.
Welcome out to God and Country. I'm Uriah Kennedy. This is Ingrid Bettridge. We're here at the Capitol building again. Today we're going to be talking to Senator Harper. So Harper is in the Transportation Committee, and so we'll be talking a lot about that, but we are going to get into some of the other subjects because not everybody wants to talk about transportation, where the roads and buses are going, but we'll go into a little bit of that. But we still want to talk about what's going on in the pornography arena, a little bit like what we discussed last time, trying to protect our kids. We want to get into a little bit into Prop 4 and his opinions on that. So we'll see how this conversation goes. Again, like, subscribe, and share. We got plenty of YouTube suppression going on. It's just, every single time we put out a video, I'm shocked when I look at the number of impressions that YouTube's willing to give us and how much they're willing to put us out there naturally, and it just isn't there. So
it's up to those of you who subscribe to help us out and share those episodes, share the little shorts. Go find us on your social media platforms too and share those as well. That's very helpful.
Yeah, you got to reshare it, and reshare it. So
and comment. We want to hear what you think. We hear a lot about what the left thinks. We'd like to hear what you think.
We get a lot of negative comments, so if we had some positive ones out there, that'd be great. We could really use the support. We're trying to get as much information out there as possible, trying to keep very, very pertinent topics going. So if you listen to the whole episode, you'll actually find there's a lot of information. So don't just listen to the first 3 minutes and say, oh, that's boring. I mean, go through our full episode. We try to keep chapter headings down in the description as well so you can move ahead, but make sure you like, subscribe, and share. Look down below. You'll see, again, we have our t-shirts down below up for sale, so support the merch. Support the merch, support the channel, and we will talk to you after our interview with Senator Harper.
One of the things I learned growing up as a kid, and particularly in Scouts, was to be prepared. And particularly when it comes to my feet. You do not want to be out in a situation where your feet are incredibly uncomfortable and makes you absolutely miserable, makes the rest of the day absolutely miserable. So you have to go out there in the right equipment, whether that's hiking in the mountains, whether that's fishing on the stream, it's working out in your garden or out in the yard, or it's going out on the town or to the nearest rodeo in a nice pair of boots. You have to go out prepared so you look good, feel good, and most importantly, it is comfortable. Because again, there's nothing like being miserable walking around all day long. We want to introduce you to 3 different companies that are supporting this channel. We have Durango Boots, which provides the best Western wear and boots that money can buy. So you'll have the look, the feel that you want. There's also Rocky Boots for that great mountain wear, that hiking wear, and just getting out into nature and being prepared for what you're confronting. And then there's Mucky Boots or Muck Boots, which will provide the perfect waterproofing that you need for fishing, hunting, and again, getting out in the yard and working in the mud. These are great companies that supply a great pair of boots for you for any need, for any occasion. So again, go to the link in our description or click on the QR code that's coming up on your screen for any of these great sites. whether it's Western wear, whether it's the outdoor wear and getting up into the hills and the mountains, or whether it's muck wear that you need to be able to work around the garden or go fishing or hunting and not walk around with wet feet. These are great products at great prices that will keep you perfectly comfortable all day at the same time that you're looking good. So trust these products, whether it's Durango, whether it's muck boots, or whether it's Rocky Mountain boots or Rocky boots, and go to those sites using the link in our description or QR code that's popping up on your screen. Again, the link in the description or QR code that's popping up on your screen, and support our channel.
Explain your buckles over here.
Oh, we used to have legislative team penning.
I'm obviously interested.
Yes, yeah. And so we would go out there, and they stopped doing it right before, or right
For
after
the
COVID.
city girl, what's penning?
Penning is where you get on a horse. They let some,
They point the horse at the thing,
and you have to go through, and you've got these sheep that are out there with numbers on them. So they've got, like a dozen sheep or 15 sheep, and you have to get all the threes, and you and the two others have to cut them in and put them into the pen. And so that's for the times that my team won.
yeah, those horses are some of those horses that pen where you can point them at a calf or a sheep, and they'll do most of the work for you. You just got to hold on.
Yeah.
Well, we need to bring back that tradition.
Oh, it was so fun to do.
Training
We
them.
took the grandkids up there, so they had the legislators who wanted to do that. They had us do that, and then the kids, they just had grandkids. They just had them, little pony rides around. It was really, really fun.
No mutton busting.
No, no, I've had several kids do that. They love it. Go to the West Jordan Stampede and do mutton busting, and yeah.
I go to a lot of rodeos. I absolutely enjoy them.
Yeah.
So let's kind of go through first off what your area encompasses, and so the audience kind of knows what you're in charge of.
My district covers Taylorsville and West Jordan here in Salt Lake County.
Okay.
And so
you're down there with Dan McKay, then close to Dan McKay.
Dan McKay is just a little bit south of me, yeah. Mm-hmm. So I've got that section. It's kind of what you may want to call the purple district in Salt Lake County, that part of it's really blue and the other part's really red. And so I get to maintain it and keep it, very conservative.
Well, that's what we're hoping. You keep it conservative, So this kind of goes for how you got started into politics, how you got into office.
Yeah, what were you doing before?
That's a long story.
Where were you raised?
I was born in southern Idaho, in Soda Springs, and spent most of my life in Sandy, American Fork, and Orem. So I graduated from...
I was born and raised in Provo, so my family all in Alpine and Highland.
Yeah, so I went to American Fork High School.
Yep, some of my brothers.
So yeah, that's that. My parents and family have always been involved and active in my dad served in World War II. A lot of my uncles did. Brothers-in-law served in...
What a legacy.
In Vietnam. I've got a son-in-law that's in the Army still. So, we've always done that. And then I've always been interested in community service. First time I came up here to testify, I think, was in 1981 before a Senate committee. They were talking about a bill, and I was representing my neighborhood, and came up and was able to stand around and wait to give public testimony up here. What
was the bill regarding?
The bill was an issue dealing with mobile home residency rights and mobile home owner rights. And there were some changes that wanted to be made, and we were supporting everything except I think 3 provisions, and I was coming to speak about how those would negatively impact those of us who own a mobile home and rented a space in a park. So I've done that. I've been involved with quite a number of issues over the years. Was on the West Jordan City Budget Advisory Council, and then people liked that and said you did a good job. So I ran for a West Jordan City Council seat and won that. Served for almost a full term before running for the House of Representatives.
Oh, wow.
So I was in the House for a number of years and now in the Senate. So I've been doing a lot of stuff with politics.
A lot of stuff.
And the thing that keeps me going is I love helping constituents. I love helping people resolve problems. And I have spend a lot of time doing that. And people say, well, why do you run so many bills? I said, well, I sit down with the state agency, or I sit down with this group or that. We try to work through the issues, and if we can't get resolved, a lot of times people say, hey, we can't do it because we would like to, but this code is not correct. So then I'll go through and run the bill, fix it, and then the agency and the constituent can get their issues resolved and taken care of.
What do you have as kind of the biggest thing you're running right now?
I focus, if you call it focus, I run most of the transportation bills up here. Transportation funding, administration, dealing with transit, transportation, regular roads, active transportation, access to parks, all those type of things. So I deal with that quite a bit. I'm involved quite a bit with sales tax, income tax, and property tax. Senator McKay and I are working on a property tax relief bill. We haven't quite gotten there yet, but yeah, we've been working for months on trying to do that.
Well, property tax is a massive subject right now. That's a pretty big subject now that you mentioned that. I mean, Salt Lake had a huge meeting about the property taxes in Salt Lake County, and that one didn't go over very well.
It did not fly, no.
Did not go over very well. So I know with property taxes, most of that is local cities, the county. Well, what can the state do? Because I mean, I don't know how much of that's underneath your guys' purview.
Well, we have a minimum basic levy that everybody goes through and puts on their property tax. That is to go through and balance the funding, the state funding, between more wealthy counties like Summit County and then rich or Daggett or San Juan that has very little property tax base. So we use that to equalize that so students are funded the same across the state. We go through and set the policy as to what their authority is in code, because every entity is a political subdivision in the state of Utah, and their grant authority per the Constitution is from the legislature. So we say you have the authority to do X, Y, and Z, and they operate very well within that. However, as you brought up before, we've seen property tax increases, and I'll take, the Jordan School District, for the last 5 years, they've had double-digit property tax increases. Even when the legislature puts in hundreds of millions of dollars of new funding into the program, into education, raises up teacher salaries by $4,000 to $6,000 a year. In addition to what they're doing, they still deem it important. And when that happens, to raise the property taxes, when that happens, we hear from saying, I didn't get a 27% increase in my salary. Mm-hmm. I can't afford to do that, especially those who are new young families just starting out and those who are on fixed incomes in retirement.
Well, people don't like that also because they know that these tax hikes for education never go down to where they say they will go. It's always
They're not
going up
making
to
it
the
teacher.
And that's why you saw us, I think it was 4 years ago, actually do a direct allocation to the teachers, bypassing that to increase their salary. And we have really, in the last 6 years, they're not, at the bottom. They're about 2/3 of the way up for total compensation nationwide. They used to be, Mississippi, Utah, and Idaho were always the bottom three.
However, these school districts are more employees, higher pay, lots of raises.
Yep. There's always going to be that appetite to continue funding.
Well, it's feeling like, at least amongst the public, that not to stick on school districts, but that the school districts are kind of imploding and becoming these big bloated entities. We had Richard Marcosi on a couple weeks ago, and he actually did a big study on the Granite School District. And through just public information, went through and found that there was well over 100 employees within the Granite School District itself that had salaries of well over $200,000 per person. When the teachers are 40, 50, 60,000.
And the
teachers
median
around,
household income is not bad.
50 to 60,000.
Yeah, so you got where good teachers are either quitting or trying to go administration, and you're not getting really good teachers down teaching because they're just not getting paid, and everything's going to admin, and they're creating additional administrative roles that people don't think are really necessary just to have.
And
enough salary in the
you
mix.
hit on a very salient point right there. We have these teachers, they have their steps, they've got their lanes and all that type of stuff, but they have to get a master's degree or they have to get a doctorate in order to change and get additional compensation. And then you have people who are saying, well, I can't afford to be a teacher. I'm going to be a principal. I want to go into administration. That's not the way it should be.
No.
And there's a disincentive to stay as a quality educator. And that, I think that's starting to be addressed, but we have a long ways to go.
Yeah, one of the things we talked about with Richard is kind of creating some kind of legislation that would force the districts to have the same average wage as the average teacher within their district. So that if
That
they,
would be,
they wanted to raise, they'd have to raise the teacher.
That's interesting. That has some, has a little bit of challenge to it, but that's a laudable goal to get all the teachers up to where administration is. Then those quality teachers can stay in the classroom.
Yeah. So that would affect the property taxes quite a bit, is if we could level out school districts and get more of that money to the classroom. I mean, even in the classroom setting, my wife's a school teacher. She's been a school teacher for 18 years. She's taught in Provo School District, the Davis County School District. She's taught at private schools. And so she sees the effects on a day-to-day basis. And every single year, it's the same thing. We need donations from parents for crayons, for pencils, for notebooks, and all that stuff. And we're always thinking, well, with all this money we're putting towards education, why isn't that getting to the classroom? Classrooms only have a classroom set of books. They can't lend them out. They have to stay in the classroom. Kids can't take anything home.
Every year for over 20 years, we have done a line item in the budget specifically for classroom supplies, because we don't believe that teachers should be paying out of pocket for all of those things that are consumed in the classroom.
And trust me, my wife, which essentially is me, pays for a lot of that because I give her money for it all the time. So
And
I don't know what we can do about moving the money from the school districts down to the classroom, if that's in the works, or even if that's even in your purview.
So my parents were both educators, and the same things that we're hearing today is the same things that they were saying 40, 50, 60 years ago. We don't have enough compensation, but they're saying, I remember my mom going to the store. Okay, I got to pick up the stuff for class for this week because we're out of colored pencils or crayon or paper. That's just what she did. And I'm thinking,
Well, I'd like to see a doge of some sort go through the school districts and get rid of the unnecessary employees. I don't think we need that many people running the school district.
some of the school districts have stated over the years that they have done that. I can't verify it if they have or they had not. But yes, we need to make sure that everything within every education dollar is spent properly, and most of it's in the classroom.
Yeah.
You're absolutely correct.
Well, we'll see if we can get some legislation to actually force that money out of the districts and down to the classrooms then.
I saw your ticket to ride
Oh, yeah.
in there, and that's your area of expertise is transportation?
Transportation, yes.
Were you involved in Legacy?
Yes. There was a group of us who made sure that Legacy, as well as I-15, Mountain View Corridor, Bangor Highway, Southern Parkway, all of those roads are funded. Yeah, I delight in funding roads, but also there's an important thing. We can't build enough roads, so we've actually got to have a reliable, steady, cost-effective transit system as well. And so you'll see I've got a bill this year dealing with the administration of UTA in order to make sure that they are operating leaner and they're actually moving administrative money down. This is what you just said on schools.
Yeah.
Administrative money down into actual bus drivers and buses and more frequent service.
One of the biggest questions I'm seeing about UTA and particularly about Frontrunner is it's still cheaper to drive your car from Davis, Weber County down to Salt Lake than it is to take Frontrunner. And a lot of people on the other side of the aisle say, well, we don't want to subsidize Frontrunner, it should fund itself. And so you have this dichotomy between those who want to fund it to make those prices cheaper so people will actually run it because it'll be cheaper than their vehicle. Then you have those that don't want to fund it at all. So what are you seeing up here between that mix? That's got to be a hard conversation.
It is a very hard conversation because right now in Dallas, you've got several cities that are pulling out of the Dallas Area Rapid Transit System, DART, down there, or threatening to, because they're not getting the service. They're paying for it, through the property taxes and the sales taxes, but the service is not frequent enough, and it's not going out to the areas that they want. Therefore, they're saying, well, we're going to pull out and we're going to start running our own buses. So as we talk about what's going on here, we have something that's called the fare box recovery rate, which means that you should have around 20 to 24% of your fare covered by the people who actually ride the bus or the train. We're not there yet, but at the same time, people are saying, well, if I want to go downtown to see a game or go to the play, I have to go drive over to the park and ride because my bus doesn't come late at night. I have to get on commuter rail, then I have to get a transfer to the bus, and then I have to get off. They said, that takes 2 hours. I can get in my car and be down there in 35 minutes. So it's got to be frequent, reliable, and cost-effective. Transit must be.
Well, I've ridden it a few times. I like riding it down to a Jazz game or particularly a BYU guy here, but to BYU games, because the traffic after a BYU game is horrendous. I can usually get out of town a little bit quicker on Frontrunner. But the big issue is just having it during just normal commute times, like during the day, because we all know how bountiful I-15 traffic is, or the Sandy Draper traffic is coming over to the point trying to get into the valley. And so I think that the biggest push is just trying to get to where more people that go down there for work are able to use those services and they're just as quick. But at the same time, being just as quick, they have to be cheaper than putting the gas tank. So if I'm paying 30, 40, 50 bucks a month in my gas versus I'm paying $100+ a month in Frontrunner, people are going to still drive their cars. So that's the argument.
We have not hit the balance yet. We're working on it, and I think some of the changes we ran last year in code and this year should start to balance that out.
Are you having, but like I said, my opinion is not either here or there how you guys are doing it, but what is the conversation like? Because again, like I said, you have a group of people that don't want to subsidize public transit at all. And then you have a people that says, well, if you did subsidize it, then it'd get more traffic off the freeways and it'd be easier for those who are on the freeways. So you have both those conversations. So what's the argument like on the floor in your committee meetings?
The discussions within the committee meetings are, we need to go through expand transit, but it can't just be business as usual. As we talk about it, we say, we need to go through and make Frontrunner reliable, so it's coming every 20 minutes, during the day that it's operating. We need to increase the frequency of Trax. But if you go back years ago into the 90s and the 1980s and 1990s, we had a much more robust and reliable bus system than what we do now. I used to hop on a bus when I lived out in Kearns, take it clear down, get off on North Temple and go to work, okay? Or go on 4 South, to another building, okay? That was fine. Then when they started up the Trax system, they said, we don't have enough money to operate it. So they started shutting down bus lines and having just feeder buses into the Trax, and then you'd have to take another one up. I mean, it's come back a little bit, but people want to have their...
So did we do Trax too soon?
No, we didn't do tracks too soon. We didn't have enough money to operate it. We had enough money to build it. So they had to go through and shift funds around. Now we're working with the UTA and other stakeholders, saying we've got to get the frequency of the buses and the expansion of the bus routes back. If you take a look at what is going on in Southwest Salt Lake County, Northwest Utah County, all the roads are clogged with cars, but there aren't buses that go out there.
Yeah.
There's only a couple routes. If we did that, I think people would say, hey, I've got a reliable option. Reliable and affordable. Let me go through and work on those. And let me ride those, and that's what people are looking for.
I just went out to a delegate meeting. My sister's a delegate out in Eagle Mountain.
Okay.
And we had a guy that's running for Senate out there and a few others. But the biggest hurdle that Eagle Mountain, Saratoga Springs has is that they're exploding in population, absolutely exploding. But getting out there, it takes longer. I could drive from my house in Layton to the exit American Fork faster than I can get from American Fork out to Saratoga Springs sometimes.
Oh, yeah.
What's the conversation about that issue? 'Cause there's a lot of people interested in fixing that.
That area, and then the Riverton, Bluffdale, Harriman, they're just exploding.
Exploding.
Okay. And good for people to do that, but all of these homes and everything are being built on a corridor. Okay. Well, now you have that other road that goes over the hill into Eagle Mountain and down towards the old airport there in Fairfield. You can't put that many people on that. So what we've done with the transportation is we've worked the last 2 years with the Transportation Commission. They've reallocated funds. And now you've got the Mountain View corridor that's opened up by Camp Williams. That's cut between 15 to 20 minutes off of everybody's drive. But then you drop down onto the state highway there, and you've got a bottleneck as you go the hill.
Complaining about.
And so what we've done, and it's not going to be quick enough, we've got Pioneer Parkway that's being reconstructed right now to handle more capacity. Redwood Road has been widened now, which is fine. But what we are doing is we funded Mountain View Corridor to go down past Saratoga Springs to where it's a freeway, so you will actually have a freeway cutting through there. And then you go through and you take the Corey Ride Parkway. That is also going to be turned into a freeway. Granted, they won't be done for another 3 to 4 years.
When do you think construction starts on those?
The construction, I think, starts in the summer. One of them starts summer of 27, the other summer of 28, and they take about 2 years each to do. It's a slow process.
So you probably got another 4 to 5 years before.
Yeah, we're hoping that they'll all be open up in 29.
And with the expected growth that's going to continue to go out there over the next 5 years, are those construction projects slated to be big enough?
Yeah, they are
5 years from now.
And we're also looking to say, okay, what do we do? Do we need another main road through the Cedar Valley out there by Fairfield and the ranches out there? Do we need to have another Mountain View or Bangor Highway type of road? Because we know it's going to be built out, should we not be preparing now with the new roads? Sometimes we get it right, sometimes we don't. But yeah, I think you'll see over the next year or two funding for additional roads out there and freeways to be allocated.
I was born and raised in Provo, and even from the time I was a teenager, there was always conversations of building a bridge that crossed Utah Lake. I know that's been in a lot of conversations. Does that have any merit at all?
We had a group that was looking at it, and they pulled back. We had another group. It's been on and off the table, as you say, for probably 3 or 4 decades now. Yeah. Nobody's been able to make it pencil out. And everybody says, well, yeah, if you go from Gull Point there on the west side of the lake and cut across over someplace, Provo or on, it will work. But they haven't figured out how to fund it. And I don't know if a toll bridge would work. I know somebody is going to get it right and figure out how to do it. We haven't done.
No one's
haven't
figured
done
it
it
out.
yet.
So that's not coming from the state. Do you think that's coming from the private
It's
sector?
more
or-
coming from the private sector. There's been discussion of it. Should the state fund it? We said, what's the highest priority? There's a lot of stuff still in discussion.
Yeah, that'd be
Yeah.
quite the causeway.
Yeah, it would be. It would
The only
be.
advantage is Utah Lakes. I think the deepest port is like 15 feet deep.
It's pretty shallow. Yeah.
It's pretty shallow, pretty shallow. Last week we spoke with Musselman, and he's
Okay.
got a bill coming along that kind of coordinates with what's going on in the House as well. So one of the more controversial topics that's in the state right now, and this is kind of where we really want to focus our attention
Okay.
on, is in access to pornography by kids and trying to screen that. I mean, the age gating on pornographic sites.
Right.
But we also had Corinne Johnson on from Utah Parents United on a couple weeks ago, and she had a mother that literally took a school-assigned tablet, and within 3 clicks and 13 seconds, she had bypassed
While
the
on school
firewall
property.
Yeah,
while on
yeah.
school property and gotten to pornography and stuff like that. So there's a major problem with that. I know he's trying to put forth a bill that would curtail that a little bit. I don't know if you've argued that out on the floor yet or seen that bill. And then Trevor Lee's also got one that's supposed to kind of tighten down on LGBTQ access to
Yeah.
kids. How much do you know about either of those bills?
We've been talking about those. Wyther ran a bill 2 years ago. McKell ran a bill last year, dealing with age verification, things like that. You've had the lawsuit that's in Texas, which was favorably issued, I think, the last couple weeks, that says, yeah, you can do the gatekeeping, you can do the age verification. There are other cases in other courts.
Which is shocking that you have to have court permission to age gate, which is in my mind is insane. But that's when you guys do legislation, in the back of your mind is, can this go through court and survive?
Unfortunately, in this litigious society, did I say it right? My intern's going to be a lawyer. We have to look at that. But more important, we look at the policy and say, yeah, somebody may sue us. There's always somebody who's going to sue on an issue. But is this the right policy for Utah? Will this enhance the safety of our children and grandchildren? So, yeah, we look at that. But as you take a look at that, you see what Musselman and others are doing this year. They are the right policies. And when you've got, what is it, Pornhub that's kind of geofenced Utah now, because of that, I think that's a step forward. I think that's a statement that, yes, we're doing something, and it is the right thing to do. So, yeah, I think
And
you'll
I
see.
think Musselman's trying to even force the VPNs, even if they're going through VPN to.
Yeah, that you
Age-gate that.
can use a VPN and do a walk around, things like that. Yeah. Well, the tech companies say, well, how do you go through and do that? Because it's a national and international thing, and you're only dealing with the state of Utah. Well, we've got to take care of what's right for Utah. And we've seen over the decades, if California says something, or New York, or Florida, they say, oh yeah, we can do that. If it's a smaller state, no, well, we don't care. We can do it in Utah. I mean, you take a look at some of the EPA fuel standards, and you do some of the greenhouse gas and other things that two of those three states have done. They go through and circumscribe it, and everybody says, sure. And we're going to make sure that we make the same statement here in Utah. We're going to protect our children, and we're going to do everything that we can.
Do you know what the teeth are in that? What the penalties are for not doing it?
I know that there are some refinements being made, so I can't tell you currently what those teeth and safeguards are. I know that they're working to improve those.
That's good for everybody. It's good for
Yeah.
kids. It's good for everything.
Yeah.
I think that's beneficial.
I spoke to a woman who works for some sort of housing to make sure that housing is affordable for people. She said that there's a surplus in transportation. They are going to take some of that money over to housing. That Ariel DeFay's working on a bill, and when I asked her if that was for this year or something in the future, something where they help people who normally wouldn't qualify for housing to be able to, they want more people purchasing housing. And that with this, they would be able to afford to do $30,000 per person. So 6,500 people, more people could purchase homes. Do you know anything about this?
Well, 2 years ago, we ran a bill, President Adams did, to go through and put in an account of where you could go through, and I think it was $20 million. I think it was $20 million for first home buyer assistance. That has been used very, very well. People have been able to use that as down payment if they haven't had it. What Representative DeFay is talking about here is going through, and you remember the things off of vehicle registrations, motor fuel tax, things like that, that per the Constitution has to be dedicated to transportation. However, we have some sales tax and some other investment funds that we could potentially take and use. I haven't seen her bill, but that could be a source for helping out with down payment assistance and getting people into homes.
Do you know anything about who would be qualifying for this, and do they need to pay back into the system? Or?
I have not read her bill, so I don't know. But traditionally, we will go through and have it as if you live within a home for 5 years, it is a grant. If you move out of it, it's a repayable loan within that 5-year period. That's traditionally what we do.
Oh, that seems...
I
think we heard that last week with Musselman. I think that the whole 5-year thing,
Yeah.
if you stayed in the house for 5 years, then it'd be a grant. Interesting take on that. The other thing that is coming across the desk, and I don't know if it's going to get out of the House or not, is the immigration bill that Trevor Lee's also putting forth right there, where they are going to remove any type of incentives to illegals, whether it's WIC, it's Medicaid, food stamps of any kind. I mean, we need to be helping ICE out, and so that they're not having to go out and arrest so many people all the time, but actually incentivize people to kind of self-deport. Do you think that that's going to get a lot of steam in the Senate? Do you think it's going to go through, or do you just eliminate all incentives at all?
I think that, I mean, you've got one party who thinks you should be taking care of everybody, and there's a Christian and charitable reason to do that. But at the same time, you should be here legally in order to benefit from all of the different programs that we have available. Some of which I think go a little bit excessive, it's like...
I'm glad you have that opinion. There's some people that don't think that.
There's socialization of... Anyway, won't head down there. Yeah, there are some good programs that people who are in definite need should have access to. But they should be citizens. They should be here legally. His bill, I have no idea how it's going to fare in the House. And if it makes it over to the Senate, it'll probably be in some different version than what it is right now. I can't tell you that.
I think it's fine if churches and groups,
religious organizations,
if they want to help, that should be on the citizen to provide charity at will, not by mandate from the taxpayer.
Shouldn't come out of the taxpayer dollar, though.
That's spot on. Yeah.
No, good. Okay, the two big subjects in the state right now and the biggest one is Prop 4 and SB 54. So with Prop 4, we got a deadline of this weekend. I mean, this podcast is going to come out on Sunday, so this podcast is going to come out on the deadline.
On the day, yeah.
On the deadline day, there is a massive push right now from the left or special interest organizations, out-of-state organizations, trying to come in and just dissuade people from signing that. My sister, like I said, was down at a gym yesterday trying to collect signatures. And within minutes of her collecting signatures, the gym owner allowed her, and he was all for it. And they started getting protested. 2 protesters showed up. Within minutes, the reviews on Google started getting negative reviews on his thing, and then all of a sudden people were harassing people who were coming in and signing, just like that. And I've talked to Rob Axon's office, and they're getting that everywhere. They've
purchased commercials on stations that aren't even here that are, and it doesn't tell you what bill, but it says big power grab happening in Utah. Go to this website and find out. So I went, and there they'll organize you on where to go protest.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I find it interesting. People said back in, I think it was 2018 when Prop 4 passed, they said it was the will of the people, you cannot change that. No, the people can change. I mean, and that's what we're seeing now. We've got some people that are concerned with Proposition 4, and you have a group of people in state and out of state that are saying, let's go through and put this back on the ballot for what? So the people can look at it again. We here on Capitol Hill, and this may not be the right percentage, but I joke with everybody that 20 to 25% of the bills that we run here are cleanups from previous bills. If we were prevented from doing that to reconsider an action, we would not be the best managed state, most fiscally responsible state in the country, okay? So with that being said, I think people should have the ability to go through and vote on that issue again, okay? They may come out with the same thing, saying, yeah, we want to keep it. But there's a lack of clarity on that bill. It needs to be cleaned up on that Prop 4.
Well, the first time it went through, it barely passed at a 49% margin. And I don't think very many people knew either way what it was.
No, it was not talked about a lot. But you have people that are going out there and saying, oh, look, you've got all of this out-of-state money to go through and repeal the will of the people. Okay, what about the other people who we've got I know of one donation of out-of-state money came in $3 million to go through and start re-educating people on why they should remove their names.
Yep.
If you want to go through and let somebody know, hey, we're concerned with you signing this, that's one thing. But when you go knocking on people's doors and say, I have record here that you signed this, I want you to remove your name, that to me
crosses the line. You should not be going to somebody's door and educating or intimidating them. Okay. If you want to talk about outside money, yeah, it comes in all the time. It comes into city council races, legislative races, gubernatorial, congressional. You know, the money's from in-state and out-state. People like things in and state and out-state. I talk to legislative colleagues across the country. It's the same thing. People want to go through and make sure their position and their voice is heard, but at the same time, you've got to respect people. You can't be going to their door and intimidating them.
So that was our conversation with Senator Harper. Something went wrong with the camera, so we lost the last 15 minutes of it. So there's a little bit more. We went into SB 54 and some other things, but for some reason there is a power glitch, and we didn't know, but the recording shut down at like the 37, 38 minute mark. So
Maybe we can recap what he said. How does he feel about SB 54?
SB 54? He collected signatures once, and he personally said that he regrets collecting signatures. He's been the caucus candidate ever since then, and he would love to have that discussion come to the floor and see what they can discuss it. He's like-minded with us that we don't think it would pass yet. There's too many people that support signature candidates, but the conversation out on the floor has always been about who's attending caucus, how many people are attending caucus, even though he specifically said out in his area, which is out in the Taylorsville, West Jordan area, that he had 100 to 150 people in each caucus showing up, which we're not seeing those type of numbers up in Davis County.
Tell us if you want to know more about what caucus is. Can we educate the public on that?
Which is what we need to do, because we made the specific point that when you are in a caucus, you have more detailed information than the public's going to have access to. It's just the way it works, because when we're going to schools and libraries and community centers and city buildings and sitting down and talking with each person who is running a campaign, the conversations get a lot more detailed, and they can't hide their opinions. They can't hide their personalities. It just comes out.
Well, they're human. And when you have a conversation with somebody, there's a lot better connection than when you're just getting an email or a text here and there. And the
Yeah.
only conversations you have are with those who are serving with you in the Senate or the legislature. But if you're actually with the citizens and the constituents you represent, that's going to go a lot longer, a lot farther.
Because it takes out the TV commercials, it takes out the radio spots. The people that don't have money can't afford TV commercials and can't afford big radio spots. They don't have to worry about it because all they have to do is put up a folding table, put some stickers on it, and stand in front and talk to a delegate.
Give you some candy.
And again, last week, Musselman wasn't of that opinion, but I'm of the absolute opinion that if you go the caucus system, it takes money out of it. Because you can spend money in the caucus system, but the delegates really don't care. They just want to sit down and talk to you and get a legitimate conversation going and really find out what the truth is. Just a much better system. So I'm hoping that everybody out there learns more about the caucus system and we can someday have enough power up here at the Capitol building to get rid of SB 54 and go back to our roots. The other conversation we had, and I don't know how much of it we got, was the Prop 4 conversation. Again, this is going to come out on the deadline. So right now, it's Friday. We're up here at the Capitol building. It's a Friday. It's going to come out on Sunday, so 2 days from now. So when you're hearing this, you're going to be hearing it either on the deadline or late after the deadline. So hopefully, by the time you guys are listening to this, that we've been able to collect enough signatures to get it back onto the ballot for this November. And then
Those commercials about a power grab are just a big old lie. What it's about is Prop 4 and to try to get you to not sign.
Yeah.
And you most certainly want to sign Prop 4. That is what a representative form of government is. The Constitution states that boundaries should be set, congressional district lines should be set by the legislature. That's what the Constitution says.
So the next big thing with Prop 4 is going to be in November. So hopefully we did collect enough signatures. It gets on the ballot in November, and then we need everybody to vote to repeal Prop 4, to get rid of it. No more Prop 4. That authority goes back to the legislature to select those districts, and we have the voice of the people that way. All these lies about people saying that repealing Prop 4 is taking away the voice of the people is a lie, because we're putting it back on the ballot so that people can have a voice once again.
And shame on KSL for being part of that lie.
There's a story that came out this morning, again, today's Friday, that on KSL where they were really kind of being very, very negative towards those of us who are trying to collect signatures. It's not a good situation. It's for a conservative media outlet in a very conservative state to be putting information like that, false information, false news out like that is abhorrent. I don't know who's pushing the buttons over there or who's writing the paychecks, but
Let your unbiased journalists speak.
yeah, so you need outlets like this podcast to be able to get the truth out there, because these outlets have gone the way of fake news, sadly, very, very sadly.
Yeah.
So again, in November, make sure we repeal Prop 4. Let's push for the caucus system. Caucus night is March, I forget,
17th.
March
Patrick's Day.
17th. March 17th is
So
caucus night.
unless you're
caucus
Irish,
night.
you don't have any excuse to not be there.
Get out March 17th, your caucus night. March 13th, you need to be here at the Capitol building.
Yeah, we'd
So
love to meet you.
we're going to be in the news media room, whatever room they call that, and we're going to have our big podcast on our kids. We're going to be discussing suicide, CRT, DEI, LGBTQ topics, pornography on school laptops and tablets, all those big conversations that are around our kids. So again, Trevor Lee, Carrie-Ann Lisby, Dan McKay, Heidi Baldry, and Corinne Johnson will all be there. We've sent out invitations to all 4 media networks, so channel 2, 4, 5, and 13, to be there to cover this town hall. So it's going to be that town hall type of a format. And you as our audience, if you want to come out and participate we invite you out. So stay tuned for March 13th and then caucus night March 17th.